Time to start my Carabastone Forever Yours series. Wait a minute, where'd they go? Maybe if I turn on the TV, I can figure this out. This just in, I'm getting word that B's Forever Yours series has been stolen. What? Hello? We've got your books. If you ever want to see them again, you need to give us $3. I only paid like 75 cents for each of those. All right, well then $2.50. All right, $2.50 done. And you won't be getting the books back until the month of May. Not until next month? That gives me the perfect excuse not to have read those in April. Hi, my name's B and welcome to my channel. Mama needs to read romance. And try not to give the lamest excuse ever as to why she didn't read a series she promised to read. Welcome to my April wrap-up. April was a crazy month. It looks like it's going to be that way May, June, July, and August. September, I think things will settle and then I'll be able to read more books. But this month, I only read 13 books. Let's break them down, shall we? I read 7 contemporary romance, 3 historical romance, and 3 fantasy romance, 2 of which were, of course, alien. I gave 2 books 5 stars, 2 books 4.5 stars, 7 books got 4 stars, 1 book got 3.5 stars, and 1 book got 2.5 stars. It was an arc, and you did not see a 3-minute review on it because it was kind of... I read quite a few new-to-me authors, including Fiona Lucas, Susanna Craig, Kerrigan Byrne, Joanna Shoup, Danielle L. Jensen, Katie Wicks, who is actually Catherine Mackenzie. And I would say of those 6, 5 are authors that I would definitely want to read again. Maybe not that last one. Okay, so let's start with my first 5-star romance, which actually was a Carabastone, but it was not the Forever Yours series. It was something that came out in March. I had no idea. It's an Audible original. You know how much I love those. It's narrated by none other than Santino Fontana, who I fell in love with in the Hallmark movie Just One Kiss. He was also in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and you may know him as the guy who did the voice for the evil Prince Hans in the movie Frozen, which I've seen a couple times. This book was so cute, I couldn't even stand it. It was less than 4 hours long. If you're looking for something that's cute, light, fun, short, this is for you. We have Robbie and Marigold. They're in a psychology class together, despite the fact that they're almost 30. They're taking a college psychology class together, and they have to do a project all about love at first sight. So they tour around New York City, interviewing different couples who have been together for various lengths of time to see if love at first sight is a real thing. As they do this project together over the course of about a month, I think, sparks fly and feelings are revealed. There were sound effects. It was a full cast. It was so much fun. I can't recommend it highly enough. Such a good time. 5 stars. My other 5-star for the month of April was If Only You by Chloe Leese. It was the 6th book in the Bergman Brothers series. This focused on a Bergman sister, Ziggy, and Sebastian Gautier, which I think the author really enjoys the fact that his last name is Gautier, because I hear it like a million times. Anyway, this book had it all. The fabulous ensemble cast. I got plenty of Bergman brothers and sisters and parents, which I love. We get to know Ziggy even more. She is on the autism spectrum. She is finally a grown-up. She's living her life. She's trying to break out of the shell, though, that she's been placed in, which is the youngest sister. She's the little one. And she's tired of living that. She wants everyone to see her as an adult. So she decides to find the baddest boy she can, who happens to be best friends with her older brother, Ren. And she says, look, I'm going to make a proposition for you. We're going to be friends. We're going to be fake friends. It's not even fake dating. It's fake friendship, folks. But she says, I'm going to make your image better and you're going to make mine worse. So it'll kind of even itself out. You need to look better. I need to look more grown up. This is going to work out. As they spend time together, though, surprise, surprise, sparks fly. This could have been formulaic. This could have been, I'm going to be better because I've decided to be better. Sebastian really does become a better human during the course of this book. I found it so compelling how he does the work to be better. The author could have been lazy and said, because Ziggy loved him, it turned him into a better person. Or, he just decided because he was in love that he was going to be a better person. But the author really describes him doing the work to become a better person, to become a healthier, more well-rounded, well-balanced, positive person. And it was beautiful. I loved seeing that. And I loved seeing how the whole Bergman family embraced him. They embraced him as who he was trying to be, and who he could be, which I thought was great, because how many times in real life does someone try to change and people don't really embrace the the change or they don't support them. Sebastian was perfectly supported. This was also steamy. It was fun. The tension was there. He really wants to be with her, but he made a promise and he wants to keep that promise. So he tries very hard to keep his hands off of Ziggy. And it was fun to read about. I just loved this. It was mature. It was heartfelt. It was beautiful. It was Chloe Leese. The only one book left. Can't wait to learn all about Vigo in that last book. You know how I like to read things backwards? I read the first of the Steminist novellas, finally, in April. It's called Under One Roof. We've got Liam and Mara, and let me tell you something. It was a wild ride. It was fun. I really enjoyed seeing these two people who hated each other fall madly in love, and they try not to show it because they both have different paths. She's an environmental scientist. He's a lawyer who basically represents the companies that are ruining the planet. They wind up living together because they were both promised the same house. So they really dislike one another. Both of them wants the other one to get out and they refuse. Let me tell you, this was short and it was fun and it was spicy. So yes, I gave this 4.5 stars. I had a really good time with this book. I highly recommend all 3 of the novellas. Looking forward to Ali Hazelwood's new book, Love Theoretically, which is coming out in June. My other 4.5 star book for the month of April is With You Forever by Chloe Leese. This is book 4 of the Bergman Brothers series. The first half of this book, I probably would give 4 stars, but the second half, I absolutely gave 5 stars. You have 2 people, Axel, who is the introverted Bergman brother, and Rooney, who has been longtime friends with the family. They end up together. It's a little awkward at first. She actually agrees to marry him because he needs his inheritance in order to save their A-frame home. At first, I was like, wait, I've never seen a contemporary book where it's stated in someone's will that someone has to get married to get their inheritance. Typically, I see that in a historical romance, not a contemporary. So I was like, oh, really? You have to get married to get the money? But when you find out the motivations behind why this is the case, it was very endearing. I really liked it, actually. And I loved seeing Rooney, who has ulcerative colitis, and Axel, who has his own challenges in life. Again, as always in a Chloe Leese book, you see them working through each other's differences and still celebrating the people that they can be. Each of them honors the differences in the other and still loves them as a whole person by the end of the book. I just thoroughly loved that. The love scene was perfection. As you know, I'm all about emotion in a love scene. And when you have a love scene that includes words like cherish, adoring, reverent, I mean, what more can you want? He also nuzzles her, which I love nuzzling. It's so cute. Anyway, it was adorable, and we got some more of the whole Bergman family, which was sweet too, but I really enjoyed seeing both of these people come out of their little comfort zones and fall madly in love for one another. So great story. So let's talk about how amazing you guys are for voting for which series I was going to read in the month of April. You guys voted by a landslide for Tessa Dare. So I started Tessa Dare, and then I got asked by Rachel of Rachel Reads and Sings to do the Tessa Dare summer read along. So I was like, oh my gosh, my online friends are gonna love this. So I stopped reading Tessa Dare because I thought, well, I'm gonna be reading her all summer. I might as well wait. And I started reading Joanna Shoup. With your guys' votes, that author came in second. So I started Uptown Girls in April. It was fantastic. I loved Joanna Shoup. This book was so much fun. I read the first book called The Rogue of Fifth Avenue. I really, really enjoyed this 1899 New York City, Knickerbocker, newsy vibe. I really enjoyed, like, there's gangsters. There was an exciting trial and the whole, like, people from different classes, can they love each other? And there was a lot of excitement. There was nightclubs and gambling and corrupt police. It was really exciting. I really enjoyed it. I also loved how Frank Tripp, our hero, was very handsome, and he fell hard for Mamie, who is our heroine. I would have given this book a full 5 stars, but I didn't get the emotion that I was hoping to get, especially for Mamie. She was not as interested in him, I don't think, for a lot of the book. And yeah, it was spicy. It was steamy. I was getting lots of updates on what was going on in Frank's pants, which I don't always need. At least not that many updates. It was a really fun, how do you transition from that? It was a really fun read. And I am absolutely excited to read the rest of the series. And you guys were right, Joanna Shoup, a good time all the way. So let's talk about one that was a new one that came out last month, Never Forget You by Fiona Lucas. Holy cow, this book was crazy. I was thinking it was just gonna be this cute thing where they meet, they fall in love over the course of a day, and then she just shows up in his hometown. She's got amnesia. She's wearing the necklace that he gave her the day they met. It's also 5 years later. It's sold as this cute little rom-com. I was getting Notting Hill vibes, but instead it was another Julia Roberts movie I was served. sleeping with the enemy. There's a very real reason that our heroine has amnesia and is showing up 5 years later in Scotland. His name, by the way, is Ben. Her name, by the way, is Lily. I'm getting so excited about this, I'm forgetting to tell you like some of the basic things. This is primarily set in England. It's actually a British publisher too. So a lot of this, I actually found myself texting one of my friends who lives in England to be like, what does this mean? What is that? So that was kind of fun. I really felt immersed in England and Scotland when I was reading this. And yes, Lily and Ben, they do have chemistry. There is some sweetness. There's one bed situation, which is not steamy, but still cute and fun. But I would say half of this book, more than half of it, it's about or overshadowed by what happened with Lily in those 5 years where she was not with Ben. And it's intense. There's gaslighting. There's emotional abuse, verbal abuse. There's some crazy stuff that goes on. It was very exciting. Every day I was like, I need to read more of this. I need to find out what's going to happen next. And they're jumping in different timelines. And there were points where I was not expecting the certain jump and what it meant. I don't want to give too much away. If this sounds even remotely interesting to you, I would check the book out, because it was very good. Let's talk about another one of my 4 stars. Oh my gosh. I finally read The Highwayman by Kerrigan Byrne. I'd been wanting to do that, and I did it as part of my Try 8-Chapter Challenge for Highlander Romance. It was amazing. The author writes beautifully. We have Dugan and Farah. They're orphans, and they fall in love, this puppy love. They get married in a church, and they're just like best of friends. She teaches him how to read, and then one day she's assaulted by a priest, and Dugan tries to go after this priest. Dugan is sent to prison, and Farah tries to follow him, but then it's believed that Dugan is killed when he's in prison. So she finally moves on with her life. She tells everybody her married name. She tells everyone she's a widow. One day, like 20 years later, a gentleman approaches her. He's known as Dorian Blackwell. He's a kingpin. He's a very bad guy. And he says that he knew Dugan in prison and that he promised Dugan that he would take care of Farah. So he's got some inside info on Farah, and she needs his help. So they decide to get married. It's a marriage of convenience and insanity. There's not a whole lot more I can say because there's a lot of cool twists and plot turns. It's very intense. It's very angsty. It's very passionate. I didn't give it 5 stars because it was a little too gritty for me. And also there's some bondage in it, which always makes me uncomfortable. I just don't like that. So anyway, couldn't give it a full 5 stars, but I really liked how deep this was. I loved the happily ever after. It made me cry, but it's about healing and the power of love and hope. And yeah, I'm gonna stop. We haven't talked about alien romance yet. Let's talk about one of my 4-star alien romance books that I read in April, Barbarians Lady. This might be one of my favorite couples of all time, Herrick and Kate. They play off of one another so well. She is very tall, and bless her heart, she was teased mercilessly for her height on Earth, so she's very sensitive about it. And Herrick doesn't get the memo. He doesn't understand that his teasing her, he's flirting with her, but she just believes that he's messing with her. So they don't start out on the right foot. One day they go on an expedition with a bunch of people, and Herrick decides he's gonna sort of lure her away so he can get some time alone with her and really show her that he really is interested in her. He's not just messing with her. Well, an accident happens, and then there's some caretaking. It's lovely, and we get to see her walls finally come down. He is so dear. I just loved him so much. There wasn't a whole lot that happened other than that, so I didn't give it a full 5 stars. It wasn't as exciting, but it was a really good, solid love story with, as you know, I love my cinnamon roll hero, so we got that going on. It was lovely. It was fun. It was great watching them fall for one another. So 4 stars. I've got another Bergman brother book for you. Can you believe it? Yet another one. I read 3 in the month of April. This one I gave 4 stars. Everything for You by Chloe Leese. We have Oliver and Gavin. They are co-captains of the soccer team. Oliver's really up and coming, or he's solid in his soccer career, but then we have Gavin, who's really slowing down. He's at the end of his career. He's in a great deal of pain, and he's pretty curmudgeonly. He's not happy that Oliver is sort of taking away what Gavin had, and Gavin's not ready to let go of soccer, but he's going to have to because his body is not tolerating it anymore. I love how Oliver really loved Gavin through his pain. Oliver was never like, oh, are you in pain? I'll just come back later. I'll just deal with you when you're in a good mood. I just love how, as always with Chloe Leese, we're loving people through their stuff, not after or before or around, like just loving them right through it. The first half of this book was a little stronger for me because you really got to see all Oliver show Gavin how much he was willing to just be there for him. The second half where they were more like trying things, and I mean, that was fine, but I feel like the better emotion was in the first half because, like, for example, Gavin is in pain and he's finally allowing Oliver to put his hands on him and he's massaging him and just making Gavin feel better. And you can feel the walls just melting away as Gavin lets Oliver in. It was so powerful. And when Oliver is on a plane ride and he's so scared and Gavin is there for him, and these guys are enemies initially, and yet they are there for one another. It was so good. Part of the reason I didn't give this 5 stars, I needed more Bergmans in the book. There were 2 weddings in this book and I barely even saw them. I need to see some weddings, people. I need to see the weddings. You can't just skirt by the weddings. So that was unfortunate. But I love a good Bergman ensemble cast, and I needed a bit more of that. But yes, Oliver and Gavin together were super, and I enjoyed this story very much. 4 stars. Another 4-star was The Lady Knows Best by Susanna Craig. This was book 1 of the Goods Guide to Misconduct. Now there's a 0.5, which I'm putting right here. I can't think of the name of it, but I'm going to put it there. I recommend that one as well as maybe an entire other series because there are quite a few things alluded to that aren't fleshed out enough. Thankfully, our 2 main characters, Daphne and Miles, are fleshed out beautifully. I thought this was a super solid historical romance. We are doing all the things in the ton during the season. We're going to tea parties. We're going to balls. The main point of this is there is a newspaper that circulates called Miss Good's Magazine for Misses. Daphne stumbles upon the ladies that write this magazine, and she inadvertently becomes their advice columnist. She advises one of the ladies who writes in not to marry a duke who is found playing chess with another lady right before their marriage. Well, Miles is unfortunately this duke who's just had his engagement broken. He discovers that Daphne is the woman that gave the advice. So Miles says, look, you're going to make this right. You're going to find another wife for me in 6 weeks since you're the one that ruined my engagement. So she says, look, how about you marry me? She has her own motives for saying that as well. Think How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That's kind of what it reminded me of. In any case, they end up going to the country. It's really fun. It's spicy. It's romantic. It was a really good story. I liked it very much. If you've never tried this author, I highly recommend her and this book. Okay, so let's talk about my other 4-star alien romance, Barbarians Rescue. This is the first one I've read where, for the first half of the book, the relationship takes a backseat to the major plot, which was pretty harrowing. We have an alien ship. They are slavers. They take humans and they sell them around the universe, and they have landed on the ice planet. They are very, very bad, obviously, especially with what they did with the original crew. Warwick and Summer have to work together to keep the ship from leaving and then to take out the bad guys so they can help save their friends. And then they discover something else on the ship that changes everything. I've since read 2 more books and we still haven't resolved some of the things that have gone on. It's a really big book filled with lots of revelations. As I said, though, in the second half, most of it is about Warwick and Summer. Before any of the extra women came down to their planet, Warwick just had decided that that was the life he was going to lead. He was just going to be single and he was fine with that. He was living the best life that he could. So Summer being interested in him was sort of a surprise. I liked his quiet, nurturing ways. He becomes pretty decisive there throughout the story. And Summer, I loved seeing how she leaned on him. They worked together in this book to save the day, and then they fall in love. And it was a lot of fun to read. So 4 stars. So let's talk about my only 3.5-star book, Bridge Kingdom. This is the first book of the Bridge Kingdom series. I probably would have rated this higher, but I tend not to be as interested in politics of fictional worlds, and there was a lot of this. However, the author did a really good job of keeping me interested and also not making me confused. I'm often having to stop reading at certain points, or people are talking to me, and so sometimes it's hard for me to follow along. Having said that, it was a very easy book to follow. Even though the world building was quite good, it was not too complex, which I really did appreciate. Our main characters, Lara and Aaron are very well fleshed out. I thought that they were great. We have Laura. She has been trained since she was age 5 to basically be a spy for her country, Moradrina. And she is supposed to marry the king of Ithacana. That country is like the big country that's supposedly suppressing all the other countries. So Laura's going to go in there and she's going to take down the king, destroy the government, and basically hand Ithacana over to Moradrina on a silver platter. And she has been trained up the wazoo. Think Mission Impossible style, Black Widow levels of training. This girl can do it all. She has no interest in Aaron in the beginning. However, things change. Also, during the course of the story, her opinions about who's really good and who's really bad change as well. It's really fascinating. There are 2 narrators in this story. There's thunder and rain sounds between each chapter, but aside from that, there weren't really the sound effects or the ensemble cast that I was hoping for. So that was a little unfortunate, but I really did enjoy the story. Oh my gosh, the climax was crazy, and then the cliffhanger at the end made me bump this up from a 3 to a 3.5 stars. And I am actually really eager to read the second book now, which I'm going to be hoping to tackle in the month of May. So the last book I want to talk to you about today, I gave 2.5 stars. It's a book that came out on May 2nd called Hazel Fine Sings Along. I wasn't really sure how to rate this, honestly. It's supposed to be like a singing competition show. And Hazel has a hidden past that she's trying to hide, and yet she goes on national television. I was hoping it would be like fun and lighthearted, like, oh, it's a singing competition, how fun. But instead, it was like a train wreck. It was a reality television show train wreck. The writing was not very good. It was really women's fiction. The romance was most of the time. I didn't really care for that. I didn't really understand a lot of her motives. She's sort of a liar. She isn't very kind a lot of the time. She did not treat the rabbit that she was taking care of very well either, which I really did not feel comfortable with. I almost DNF'd it at one point, but I wanted to see what was going to happen. In fact, every day I found myself drawn to read more because it was such a train wreck. It's like a lot of reality television where you're like, what is going to happen next? This is a mess. And so if you like reality TV, you might love this book, but just go in expecting some romance, not great writing, but very much of a page turner. Well, those were my books for the month of April. Did you read any of the books that I read? If so, be sure to leave a comment with your thoughts. I'm sure we'd all love to know. I can't wait to see what May is going to be like. It's probably going to be crazy. If I can read even 13 books, I will consider it a success. How did I read like 24 books a month in the winter? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that you're enjoying whatever it is that you're reading, regardless of what month it is. Until next time, thanks so much. Take care. Bye.